So yeah, it's been a while. Just a quick introduction to anyone who might not know. I am Orygyn. That's all there really is to it, so let's begin. So Mozza asks, what would life be like if it were up to me? Let's start with life cycle. Now, the way things currently work is you're born, you grow up, you grow old, you die. I have no problem with two of these, the first two, born and growing up. Now, I'm not going to be able to explain why I oppose growing old and dying until I explain the next part. What would our biology be like in general? And what would the state of our technology be? At this point, I'd like to throw out most of what makes us human and throw out our current notions of technology, because if life were up to me, I would do something completely different. And in order to explain what I'd do, I'm going to use a fictional race from the game StarCraft as an analogy. Now, in StarCraft, a game which I would highly recommend, there is a race called the Zerg. These are basically lizard-like creatures that can morph into, well, what would be their own buildings. They can change into buildings. They can change into specialized units for certain purposes, like attacking or defending or gathering minerals or something like that. Now, to explain the differences I would make to this Zerg template, if you like, that would become us. The first thing is, well, the Zerg can only change one way. They can only evolve into buildings. They can evolve into specialized units. My race would change back, would be able to change back as well. So really they're less like the Zerg and more like Mystique from X-Men if she could turn into buildings as well. Now, they would do this by altering their genetic structure. And I've been thinking about this. Their genetic structure need not be DNA. It could be something completely different, something we don't even have a concept of at the moment. You know, maybe DNA is quite limiting. Maybe you can have a genetic sequence that allows for more variety so that you can get these buildings. And the idea behind this race is that they try and compete with each other. So instead of them being really skilled inventors, being able to manipulate materials that they find on the planet, they would aim to be as skilled as possible at manipulating themselves and morphing themselves into, you know, original creations such as something that can enable you to escape the atmosphere and fly into space and go to other planets and colonize them. Another one could be, you know, transforming yourself into the strongest possible buildings so that, you know, you can withstand earthquakes, or if there's any attacks or anything like that, you would survive that. Now, these creatures wouldn't grow old, but they would have to continually morph in order to keep up with the competition. And it would be like turning evolution and natural selection into a game. These creatures by their nature would be immortal, but the whole game they're playing would mean that if you can't find a suitable source of energy, you know, whether you can adapt yourself to breathe air or to live off, you know, minerals on the planet, or, you know, take your pick, sunlight, whatever. If you're unable to adapt to that kind of environment, you would end up dying. So yeah, the technology, of course, would be themselves. It would be whatever they could change themselves into. Another thing they could do is they could share parts with each other. They could, you know, one person may not necessarily be one building. It could be two people come together to form one building. So they share their metamorphosis expertise. Now, physics. Most of the current laws of physics I wouldn't change. There is one thing I might change though. I would have it be a 3D universe, plus time obviously, except it's kind of wrapped up in a 4-dimensional knot, so that basically these creatures could learn to basically teleport, for lack of a better word, to another part of the universe simply by moving through this 4th dimension. But they need to figure out a way to do this as well. I'll use this piece of paper to explain. Now, this is the 3D universe, and it's in a 4-dimensional knot or something like that. You know. Basically, what they would do is they would take advantage of the fact that maybe it's connected here, like this crumpled bit here connects to here, and they would teleport through to this part of the universe. So what would happen is you can move from, if I can unravel this and keep the place, you can move from here to here, just because they connect in this 4th dimension. When I was in primary school, I used to love making up worlds like these, so this brings back some great memories. Population and population density are really moot points. It would depend on what stage in their evolution they were at, you know. What the current state of metamorphosis was of each particular member of the race. And, you know, how well they'd been able to adapt to their own environments. In terms of religion, well, they wouldn't have one. It's not a universe that's ruled over by any god or gods. That's another one. How do they procreate? How do they sustain their race, keep it going? Well, I've been thinking about this. It could happen either asexually or sexually. It just depends on, like I said, 2 people could come together to form one building, or you could just form one building that creates the next members of the race, if you like. But it could happen either way. It could even be a building made up of maybe, you know, just pick a high number, I don't know, something like 10,000. It could be any number of people, but they come together to form this big one building. They might be able to, you know, create this creature that's particularly skilled at metamorphosis, has the knowledge of all 10,000 members of the building or whatever. I suppose it would depend on whether they valued more the individual challenge of trying to make themselves better, or to come together as a community and combine their knowledge and resources. I think that's everything I want to say. Thanks for the excellent question, Moza. Good luck to whoever's next. If it's me, I'll do my best to try and make something that's somewhat interesting. I do want to bring attention to the channel page though, because you can ask us questions that we can then ask the rest of our group. And this is very much a community channel as well, so if you guys want to post your own video responses, or, you know, even if you guys might want to be interested in joining the channel yourselves, you know, feel free to let us know. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.